Hello, and welcome to the Half Caff podcast. My name's Amy, and this is where I talk about knitting and crochet on the internet. I do have some of both today, and I actually have quite a lot to show you, so it might be a little bit of a long one despite my best efforts. It's been a while since we talked. I'm trying a new setup because it's cold enough now that I can't really podcast outside anymore. Boo. So I've got all the lights set up, and I've got a new sweater that we'll be talking about on. So I am probably going to die of heat exhaustion in about 20 minutes, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, this new setup is brought to you in part courtesy of this new yarn storage cabinet that I got, which I am utterly in love with. I had it custom made by, I think it's Sella Wood Shop. I'll put all this information down in the below doobly-doo. If you care to know, from Etsy. They do great work. They were so amazingly accommodating. So it was a custom order based off one that they normally do. This is the large apothecary cabinet. But I had an extra, did I have an extra? Yeah, an extra door added. And I had drawers created because I have cats, and I have cats who love yarn. And I've been storing my yarn in a bookcase, and it kind of overflows that bookcase anyway, a bookcase and baskets and stuff. And it's just been really difficult to get into. And, it's like a little bit open. So I've just been really concerned because we have a cat that loves to eat yarn, and we've already taken him to the emergency vet, I think twice in his life. So I don't want one of those events to happen again. So I got to thinking I need more storage. So I will put it in our entertainment center that we actually no longer, we were using it, but we don't have our TV in here. It's actually behind you, over our fireplace, which we don't use so much. So I decided this would be a great place for storing that. We'd have to move the media and all of that, but maybe, I could have the entertainment center, because my entertainment is yarn, of course. So I did that, and that worked. But I had this huge TV space to fill up, and I looked everywhere for a cabinet, and I just had a certain idea in mind. And I really scoured and could not find anything. So I just thought I'll splurge and, have a custom piece made. So, yeah, these drawers are pretty deep, and they even hold, not all of it is yarn. Most of it's yarn, but some of it's already craft supplies, like pom-poms for hats and like buttons. I've got buttons and amigurumi eyes up here. There's some yarn in here. And then I've got minis in one of the ones below. And then down here is more fingering. But I've got storage up here. I've got storage in here. And this also has drawers below and cabinets on the side that open. So it was just too good to pass up. It feels like the room of requirement in Harry Potter. I just, I keep opening the doors and there's more, more to store. I'm drinking my coffee today out of a butterbeer mug. I'm sitting kind of far away from my camera, so I don't know if you'll be able to see that. There you go. But I just got back a couple of weeks ago now, maybe, from a crazy trip to Disneyland and Universal Studios in California with my family. And we also went to see some family that we have in Utah. And it was a pretty great trip. And it was really great to see family after so long of not really going anywhere except little tiny house trips. If you saw my last podcast, I was at a tiny house. And speaking of, I know I should do that first, but I'm going to show you an object that I have already shown you before, but I've added something to it. So let's start with that, should we? This is the Snowy Shawl by Jessica McDonald. And I've shown this to you before. And so you should recognize it from last podcast. It's gorgeous. I love it. It's all blocked and finished and perfect, but I added the shawl collar like I said I would. I didn't start, so here's like the end of the shawl, and here's where I've started the shawl collar, which is right at the like the snow peaks of the mountains right here. And then it goes all the way around to the other side. It's a little bit, it's not as seamless right there of a flow. So I was kind of winging it, how many short rows I'd need to do, how I need to start and stuff. And I think I pulled this out maybe once or twice to make tweaks to it. Honestly, it's not exactly what I wanted because I probably wanted a much deeper collar so that I could fold it over like sorry, I keep smacking you. So I could fold it over like I've folded over right here. We'll get to this, I promise. But this is kind of how it worked out. And I was like, you know what? I'm happy. I'm ready to stop. So, and it doesn't fold over as far as like, having the shawl collar be double, which is kind of like what the shawl collar is, but it's a collar on a shawl, y'all. So it counts. So I think this still worked. I think in order to have a nice, like even build, I would have had to, and still get the length I wanted. That's my hair. I would have had to go the length of the shawl. Which wouldn't be the worst, but I don't think I wanted to do that. Now I was also thinking I might have to unpick. This is where I covered up the steeks. She has you make this, little flap basically, and then, sew it down. And I was thinking I would have to like unpick this or build off this or something like that. And then maybe do a ribbon to cover the floats instead or something like that. And I was kind of delaying because that sounded like a lot of work. But actually I was like, why don't I just leave this and I'll just pick up right here, because when I picked up stitches to do this flap, I actually kind of left a little bit of you can probably see it right here. I left a little bit of a ridge in where I went in like between the stitches. So there's a little bit of like a knit stitch, half stitch ridge, right here. And so I actually kind of like had this extra little line of stitches that I could follow. So I went into them to pick up the stitches for the shawl collar. So, I know this is maybe kind of weird for a shawl, but as I've said, I don't wear shawls like scarves. I wear them like shawls, around the shoulders, traditional, I guess. And so I really wanted this to come up higher on the neck so that I didn't have to bunch it up, and not have it cover my back. So this bunches maybe a little bit, but, if I want it as high as I want it, but, mostly not. Mostly it hangs nicely now and I still get this nice, coziness on my neck. And I even wore it today, on a walk. So it's perfect. It's gorgeous. So that's my own little addition. And, I've talked about this yarn before, but this is all, Gilliat yarn, worsted or Aran weight. So it's Rerum Natura and, in 3 different colorways, and they're all the colorways that Jessica recommends in her, shawl, except for the green, which is a cedar instead of forest. Because I like a little bit more of like a richer blue. It's not a blue green, but bluer than the forest, which is kind of more of an olive color. But otherwise I use the recommended yarn because it's one of my favorites. So I'm really happy with how this turned out, and now it's done, and I've been wearing it, and it's been sitting on Chloe, my mannequin, and then I just pick it up when I want to use it and walk out. So gorgeous. And I've got to wear it today on a walk because it's getting cool enough-ish. Right now it's about 50. So I wore that, and I wore my other Rerum Natura sweater, which is the Into the Woods by Melody Hoffman sweater, which I love. I've shown that on previous podcasts before. It also uses Rerum Natura, different colors, but I love that. And I wore that and the shawl, and I was actually too hot. So that's cool though. Okay. Elephant in the room, right? So again, speeding toward heat exhaustion because it's really warm, even though I have the heat off right now. My poor family, they're going to freeze probably because they're not wearing this cozy 4 different yarn, heavy, snuggly mohair sweater like I am. So I'm calling this the Sabrina sweater. I don't want to bump you with my Start myself out. Sorry. Okay. I'm calling this the Sabrina sweater, but it is called the Liebling sweater by Camilla Vad. And this is a very, very costly sweater, honestly, if you do it with the recommended yarns or like with the number of recommended yarns, which I did. So don't recommend that unless you're just really, really wanting to splurge, and then, you know, go for it. So this uses 4 different yarns. I used a worsted base. It's Berroco Ultra Wool in Basil. That's the base color. And then I used 3 mohairs, and this was all held together. So I used Cumulus, which is a silk alpaca, and that is the colorway Water, which is like the light blue that you see. I don't know if it even reads blue, but it is. And then I used Mohair Rhythm by Scheepjes in a Bougie or a Boogie. I'm guessing Bougie. Is that true? I guess so. And then I had a lot of trouble trying to find the right yarn for the 4th one to get the look I wanted, because what I'm copying, and why I call it the Sabrina sweater, is because I was watching yet again the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina Spellman. Chilling Adventures of Sabrina? Pretty sure that's what it's called. Anyway, it's on Netflix, based on the Archie comics, but based on Sabrina. I quite love that show, even though it is flawed. I really, really love it. And I love her sweaters. And this isn't even one of her best sweaters. It's just one that I thought I could make that. And so I did, and some reason had the stamina to see it through, even though it's just like 100% stockinette and ribbing. It worked. It was fun. Took a while to do, and I ran out of yarn several times. Again, as you might see, as my last at my last podcast. But the last yarn I finally found, I took a chance on polka dot sheep silk mohair in the colorway Singletrack, which is actually a little bit variegated. And it actually gave me the look I want. So everything you see going through, I'll probably have to show close-ups of this, but everything you see going through that's like the kind of like the white and like the speckly or the changeability in here, that's not just kind of like a mottled color, but it really looks like there's variation in there. That's that. It goes from white to like a yellow and even a coppery. I'll try and show you a close-up picture of it, but yeah, I'll try and show you a close-up picture of it right here. But it has like coppery tones, and they'll be like these little flashes of white, yellow, copper. It's really nice. And I think there might be some green in it too. I can't recall. Anyway, I did not make this for me. And I will probably sell it because it's actually quite comfortable, but I don't know how often I'll wear it. So I will probably sell it, maybe try and recoup some of the cost of the yarn. I did an extra long cuff so that I could roll it up, or that the owner could roll it up. So why I'm saying is I didn't make it for me. I just made it, which is a lot of what I do. I don't always make sweaters for me. I just make them in whatever size I want to, or whatever yarn I happen to have, or whatever, because then I'll just sell what I don't wear, or what's not for me, or what's not a gift at a fair or something like that. So this was kind of intended for that. I just thought it was fun to make. But I did try to make like kind of a larger size so that I'm not like just offering only smalls at fairs or anything like that. I try to do a variety of sizes. So I did do this one a little bit bigger. I think it's a size down from what I would prefer, but it fits just fine. So I may just want like more ease. Maybe that's the only issue. So I think I did a large or an extra large. I don't recall, but my Ravelry page will tell you. Costume change. Whew. Much cooler. This is the Dingley Dell tee by Isabel Kramer. Pretty sure it's by Isabel Kramer, that I made last year, maybe, out of Volenvine yarns. A shawl kit that she did. Blood Moon, History Bound. Can't remember. So I thought I'd pull this out. Anyway, so let's get back to the show. What else do I have that I have finished? I did finally actually finish off a pair of socks that I've been working on forever. The reason I did actually was because I brought like 4 projects to work on, right? And I during my trip, because it'd be a long car ride and I wouldn't be driving the whole time. So I thought, I don't really love car knitting, but, you know, of course, what else am I going to do, right? And I just hardly worked on anything. I worked a little bit on a couple of whips that I'll show you. But mostly I just kind of stared out the window. Like I find myself too distracted to knit in the car. It's weird. So I usually don't enjoy it very much. So what I ended up actually working on that was easiest for me to concentrate on, I guess, or I don't know what, was finishing a pair of socks that is my car knitting. And I don't often knit in the car, so I thought it would, I didn't even think these would be done anytime soon. I had one sock done, but I ended up finishing the other sock. So here you go. These are, I call them my Zauberball socks because they're from a Zauberball. I'll show you that in a minute. But here are the socks. I love the color change. These are, I always make shorty socks. And these are probably 64 stitches. I honestly don't remember. Hopefully my Ravelry page will have remembered for me. I've already worn these a bit. These actually ended up being for me. So I've been wearing them, and then, but I decided to put them on blockers just for niceness because they're pretty. Isn't that the only reason why I don't ever block my socks? So it's really just display. So these are the vanilla socks by on 9-inch circulars by Crazy Sock Lady, K. And this is my go-to. I always just usually add ribbing up at the top, or you know, on the top of the foot, because I find that makes the sock fit nicer, feel nicer on the foot. I think it always should have some kind of ribbing or cabling or whatever, but some kind of pattern that helps to make it nice. So I always do something like that, but otherwise that's, it's the Crazy Sock Ladies 9-inch circulars. I always do socks on either 9-inch circulars or Addy Flexi Flips, which I love for socks. So convenient. So even if I do 9-inch circulars, I'll usually, do I cast on with them? Not always. It's fine, you can, but sometimes it's just a little fiddly. But I'll always usually, when I get to the heel, I'll switch to the Flexi Flips. And when I get too small on the toe, I'll switch to the Flexi Flips too. So I used the Zauberball. What is the colorway? Gosh, I have no idea. But I will show you what I have left because I ended up starting another pair. Because I was like, I don't know what to do. And these were going to be like, this was going to take forever. And I was going to be like, God, when they're over. And then I start another pair right away. It's kind of ridiculous. So here's the ball. It's just really cool looking. There's the inside. So I literally just cast on and maybe knit, maybe a row, maybe 2. So I guess, yeah, so there's my 9-inch circulars. These are Xiaogu 9-inch. So yeah, I guess I'll just have another pair that will take me forever. Sure, that works. Sorry, my chair's all squeaky. Okay, what's next? Another project that I took with me that actually ended up being, a lot of my projects are kind of just being like, nothing's going to plan. They're taking like 3 times as long as I think they will for whatever reason. I'm just having a lot of that. So I'm either running out of yarn or it's not working out how I want, or I don't know. So this sweater has had a lot of incarnations too. This is my little Snoopy bag. This is, I'm calling it the Freddy sweater. So a long time ago, pre-pandemic, I purchased yarn to make a Freddy Krueger sweater. And I needed to find the perfect colors, and I believe I had a Karen Simply Soft color for the red, but I searched all over for the right green and finally found the green. And again, this was years ago. So this is not, if it's a commercial brand, it's not something that's readily available, like, you know, say Michael's or Joann's or whatever. So I have what I have and I have to work with it. I was doing an adult, I was kind of winging an adult size sweater, and it was just turning out way too big. And I was working from bottom up. I don't know why. I do know why. Because I was making the sweater from Nightmare Before Christmas, the first one. And in the first Freddy Krueger sweater, he has the green and red stripes as normal. And it's just like a basic crew neck sweater. But the sleeves are all solid red. And so in order to do that, I didn't want to do top down, because then that would be a striping mess, because I can't stripe the sleeves, right? So I can't split for the sleeves and do all that. So I was like, I'm either going to have to knit it in pieces, or I'll knit it from the bottom up. And then make a vest, basically. So I was working from the bottom up, and it just was turning out way too big, and I didn't know what to do, and I didn't want to go back to the project, and it just languished for a long time. So then I finally decided to pull it back out, or I rip it out. So I ripped it out, and I thought, where's all the rest of my red, right? I have the red that I ripped out of the sweater, but where are the other balls? I have the other green, but where's the other red? And I finally realized that I probably used it, because it's just basically Caron. I'm almost positive it's Caron Simply Soft. So I probably just had it in my stash and then didn't like set it aside, which is more or less fine. And I have enough red, but obviously not to do like maybe not a full grown sweater again, if that's all the red I had. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do a kid sweater. The sweater wasn't going to be for me anyway. I was just kind of like, it'd be fun to make it and sell it, you know, for Halloween and whatever. So I'm like, I'm just going to do a kid sweater. So I started working, I'll show you this one too. I started working on, which one's which? Yeah. I started working on a sweater pattern that I found that, I don't even remember the name of it. I started working on a sweater pattern that I found that was bottom up again, so I could do the sleeves how I wanted to. And I'm doing the size 2. And I did work on it a little bit on my trip, but it was kind of taking forever. Why does a 2-year-old sweater take forever? I don't know why this one's taking forever. And then I got where I had to split for the sleeves. Right here. And then with the striping and all the splitting that you have to do and the holders that you have to do to make the shoulders on both sides for a bottom up sweater. I am not sure I've made a bottom up sweater before. I feel like I've contemplated many, so I feel like I must have, but now I'm not so sure I have. I've definitely knit a sweater in pieces and sewn it, but I don't think I've knitted bottom up. So this is like not for me. This is such a giant pain. I'm, you know, like putting 6 stitches on holders and having like 5 different holders at one point. And then I messed up the striping. So I was going to have to, I think I messed up the striping on this one. Yeah. I messed up the striping because you can see, well, I guess it's okay. But I cut it off early. Anyway, I don't know what I did, but I was like, so I ended up starting over with the yarn I had left and figured I'd steal from this one that I'm not going to finish because, So this was the second incarnation that I'm now going to rip out. So I finally decided to find a top-down pattern, and then I'm just going to do the version from the later movies, which has striping on the sleeve. So then I can do a top-down and everybody's happy. So here is how far I've gotten on that version. I do have one sleeve. I haven't like ripped it up, you know, like all battered and bruised. And I feel like that's something I should have done during, so I'm not sure I will do that. I'll leave it to the buyer to do that, I guess, if they want. But basically I need to finish the sleeve, and then I've got one more sleeve in the collar. And then it'll be done. But this is taking forever. Like, I don't know what my damage is, but it's a 2-year-old sweater. You can totally whip those out so fast. But I think it's because I've actually done almost 3 sweaters. So that's probably why it seems like it's taking forever. So this is cute. This is, so I'm following a pattern. I'm going to show you a picture of my Coraline sweater that I did several years ago, I think, at this point. And Yeah, I think I did it in 2020. And it is the grown-up version of the pattern I'm doing now for the kid version. So I don't use any of the patterning. I just use the actual so let me explain. I use the pattern and I use the pattern to create sweater, but I don't like follow the chart that she's done for like the color work, basically. So this is, what is it called? The Little Pixels Pullover is this one. And this is I think it's just regular Pixels Pullover or something like that for the larger sizes. So I knew of this sweater to begin with, but I was looking for kids sweaters and then came across the same one in, the little size, and I thought that'll be great. So so it doesn't have the way it does the shoulder. This is what's the most important part, that I didn't want it to be raglan, because the official sweater is not a raglan shape. It's like a set-in sleeve look. So I wanted that look. So I've got this straight seam here, but it's still all nice and top down. It uses the contiguous sleeve pattern or style, which I 100% love. And so that was the one I chose. So almost done. Obviously not in time for Halloween, next Halloween, but it's adorable. And I would love to see a little 2-year-old in this with like a little hat and the claw. Okay, so that is the Little Pixels Pullover, or otherwise known as the Freddy sweater, that I have most recently been working on, but I interrupted myself to work on something else because I definitely have cast-on-itis. And it's because I was having a hard time. I think I took such a break from knitting because I didn't car knit. And so I was on vacation for like a week and a half. Didn't even knit when we kind of moved around a lot, and I was too tired to knit when we were doing Disneyland every day and all that kind of stuff. So I hardly knit at all. And then I kind of had a hard time getting back into it when I got home. Like I just felt like really restless. Our arrival home was really weird too, because like half of us were sick. It's funny, when we left here, the Pacific Northwest, it was hot and smoky. The air quality from fires around here was really, really bad. And so we left, and we went down to California, which was about in the 70s, because we wanted to go during, nice weathers, because I cannot take heat. And just that week that we were there decided to be 94. So that was awesome. My fingers were sweating. So that was rough. And then we came back up through Utah, actually, to visit some family and stuff. And so it was like 40 degrees there. There was snow on the mountains, which was great. And then we came home and it was dark and rainy, as Pacific Northwest weather normally is. So it was just like, what year is it? Like, what day is it? We were just like totally all turned around. So coming home was just weird, and it took me a while to settle. And so it took me a while to settle back into knitting too. So long story, I have cast-on-itis, I think, because of that. So these are in no particular order of when I started them. I'll fill you in, but this is the latest thing I'm working on, and I just started this last night in this totally cute bag. I do not remember where I got this. It was like I think I got it from like Babies R Us or something a long time ago when my daughter was born. It's got a little snap, so it's not kitty safe, but it's so cute. And it's polka dotted on the inside. It's reversible, actually, too. I love this bag. Anyway, I am working on something called the Silverleaf Shawl. And it's by Lisa Hannes, from Malia Designs. This is using Quantum Entanglement Infinity yarn, which is a yarn dyed by the woman who used to own my LYS. But she moved away. And so anyway, I bought some of her hand-dyed yarn. This is in forest green, and this is fingering, and I'm holding it double. It's really beautiful. So this is all I have so far. Get you something to look at here. This is all I have so far. It's garter, mostly garter stitch. which is kind of a first for me. Because I don't do garter stitch very often. It's nice to knit, but I don't tend to like how it looked, but I don't know, I'm going for it this time. And then it's got little rows of eyelets. And then at the very bottom, there's going to be like a little leaf motif that goes the length of the shawl. It's asymmetrical. And it takes sport weight, but it's a shawl. I can do whatever I want. So I've basically kind of made a DK with holding the two fingering together, because this is just what I had in my stash that would work. I already messed up. I cast this on 3 times. It's not hard. I just was one of those things where I'm like, so I messed up right here. I did. You probably can't even see it. I did a yarn over, or a knit 2 together there instead of a slip. And I did it like 3 times, and I'm like, why am I doing this? It's not in the pattern. I just messed it up, and I'm like, I don't care. I'm not fixing it this time. This is really fun to knit. This is totally working for me. The garter is squishy. Every, 9 rows or something, you have a row of these eyelets. And so that, again, keeps my interest up. I already messed up because I read the pattern wrong. And so it was saying, you do a row of eyelets and then you repeat 2 rows for a while. But I thought you repeated all of it. So I did 2 rows of eyelets right together. And I'm like, you know what? That's a design choice. I'm going to say that that's just me making it up. So I'm going to do that on the edges of the shawl. I'll repeat this mistake on the other side and it'll be fine, right? Or whatever. So I'm really liking this one, and this is definitely the most active whip, and not just because I started it last night, but also because it's easy, it's squishy, it's pretty. Yeah, I love it. So the pattern looks lovely and very, very clear so far. It's both charted and written, so I'm down with it. I totally recommend this pattern. And hopefully I'll have that done by next podcast to show you guys if I'm that excited about it. What next? Do we take a break for crochet? Why not? Let's take a break for crochet. I've done a beast. So this was the first one when I got back from vacation that I suddenly got this idea and was like really on fire about it. It's in the waiting pile now because now I feel like it looks like a clown costume. You know how you get where you're just like, this is so cool. And then you just look at it and at some point in the project, you're like, this is ugly. What am I doing? I don't know. Just me? Probably not. Anyway, so this is one where I just looked at it and I went, this is a beast. And it's just, what am I doing? I can tell it's just because I'm in a phase. I've had to do parts of this over because I'm kind of making it up on my own. Kind of. So I did reference a pattern, and it is called the Tea Time Cardigan. Yeah, I'll put that down on the doobly-doo or in my Ravelry pages. But I'm basically just following color count, or I'm sorry, not color counts. I'm following stitch counts for that to make a large. So this is not for me. As I said, it's just something I'm making. So it's a large. It's basically an oversized, modified, I think that one's a drop shoulder. I made it so that it's a modified drop shoulder cardigan. Very long, like duster length, or maybe not that long. It comes down to like past my knees. So it's pretty long, but I've had, again, because I'm kind of making it up as I go along and I'm only sort of using my body as a gauge. I think I need to rip back again to make the arm openings a little bit longer to have more ease. It works, but it's a little bit short. So I'm going to have to rip back again. This is in chunky and it's in, it's crochet. So it's pretty easy to rip back. It's not a drama. I'm just going to have to rip back this top portion, to make it longer. But anyway, after having like done a lot of tweaks and having to rip some stuff out and whatever, I was like, oh, I don't want to do this right now, but I'll show it to you as much as I can. Like I said, it's a beast. So here you go. That's really hard to see, right? You can see it. So there's the top, and then it goes purple, this mustard, orange, yellow, and then a green, and there's the ribbing. So it's really long. I do quite like the colors. I like the color blocking. This was inspired by something I saw, a sweater that I saw someone wearing, which was actually quite different. The stripe patterning was different. The stripe colors were different. It was knit and not crochet, like it, you know, but I saw it and I thought, color block sweater. I love it. So, this is actually a knit and crochet combo. So the ribbing at the very bottom is knit. I'm going to do a shawl collar on this, and that's going to go the whole length of everything, and that's going to be knit. And then these gray little bands are actually quite textured, and this is like 4 rows of stockinette, and then I catch it on the back to make a tube. Kind of like a tubular something or other. So there's some texture there. You can see that from the side view there, some texture. So again, like I said, I think this will be nice and bulky, and it's fairly heavy. I don't know if that's a plus or a minus. I kind of like that kind of stuff, but it's a bulky yarn. This is all Berroco from my LYS. One of my favorite go-tos anymore is this when I have a need for chunky yarn. It is the, let me see if I wrote this down. I guess I didn't, but it will be, oh, yes I did. It's Berroco Vintage Chunky. And all the colors are just numbers, so I'll again put it all below and in my Ravelry page. But this is all the same yarn. I'm using a 10.5 millimeter knitting needle and a 10.5 millimeter, a size US 10.5, size US 10.5, and a size I or 5.5 millimeter for the crochet hook. What is this? The size US 10.5? Is it like 6.5 millimeter or something like that? So anyway, just slightly bigger knitting needles than a crochet hook. Why? I don't know. That was just my intuition, and it's working out great. So there you go. I just wanted to make sure that the knitting, I feel like the crochet is fatter stitches, and so I didn't want the knitting to cinch anything in or to not line up right. And it looks like it was the right ratio because I'm having no issues with that. So yeah, so what am I calling this? Right now it's my clown cardigan because I don't know. But it's good. I think it's good. And I'm almost done. I have to knit the sleeves and then fix this top and I knit the shawl collar and I wanted to add pockets. Okay, so I'm not almost done. A lot has been done though. So I worked on this a lot, and really it was just because I also wanted to have a crochet project. Again, like I've said before, I like to have a crochet and a knitting project at least going at the same time. And I was crocheting doilies there for a while, and I think that will pick back up. But in the meantime, I didn't have a crochet project, and then this one popped into my mind, and I was thinking, oh, crochet and knit, and it'll be so cool. So I don't think this is my first crochet and knit project, but I don't think I've done it very often. And I like it. It's fun. I like to be able to do each. Makes it a little bit more interesting. So this is not the tea time cardigan. I really just, again, used it for the counts. This is a whatever. This is the clown cardigan until I think of something. Okay, what is next? Let's see. What's in here? I don't know. These are my less active whips, but still more active than others. So this one one I was excited about, and I did work on this one a little bit on the trip, but not very much. I haven't even joined. So this is a V-neck sweater, and I haven't even joined yet for the V-neck, let alone the sleeves or anything like that. So this is one of my Make 9. So I'm excited about that. So this is the Rosa jumper. That's all I've got so far. So goes around, and then it's all wadded up on the needles, and then I'm gonna join not too long from now to the V, like right here, and then knit a little bit further and join for the sleeves. So right now this is rows, not rounds. So I'm purling. It's not the worst. It's okay. Really the pretty thing about this, and this is black yarn, so I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but it's these eyelets. You see that? So the thing that's really pretty about this one is that it's a raglan, but then along the raglan it has these little eyelets, rows of like 4 little eyelets coming off each, and I think it kind of makes it look a little bit nice and delicate. Black, honestly, is my favorite color to wear, and I always love V-necks, and so this one's been on my radar for a while, and I was finally glad to start it. It's kind of a fingering weight sweater. It's actually, I guess, kind of works up to I guess it's a DK. It's a DK sweater. But it's a fingering and a mohair held double, and I haven't done that a lot either. Honestly, I've got 2 projects going, sort of, that do that, and I've just done that with the Liebling sweater, so I guess that's picking up. But that's also kind of been on my list, and one of the reasons this was on my list was to do the mohair sweater. So yeah, that's as far as I've gotten. Curling up right there. I'll certainly have to switch to a larger cord before too long, so I can see it because it's bunching up right now, but just kind of doing back and forth rows with the raglan detail. It's pretty easy to memorize. Just got to keep track of, like 8 rows, I think, an 8-row repeat. So not too bad. So I did do that a little bit in the car, but I just didn't have plus it was black. So it's kind of hard to see if we're driving at night or whatever. But it was fine. Like I said, it was just me. So I'm liking the pattern. I'm doing the size kind of between a size 7 and 8. I haven't quite nailed it down yet because I need more room in the belly, but I want a closer fit on the bust. So I'm figuring out my go-to tweak for that with sweaters. So I'm kind of making in between sizes. So this is Cascade Heritage sock yarn. So it's 75/25. It's just black. Nothing too special, but nice workhorse. The alpaca is a 100%, I don't know how to say this, camelid alpaca. Also just a black. I think it's number 807. Held together. So this was kind of difficult to find, and I'm not sure that I love the yarn. It's got the mohair. It's an alpaca, sorry. So it's an alpaca, 100% alpaca. It's not terribly soft. I think it'll be okay though. But I was kind of doing that in place of mohair, and I'm not sure that, it's still just probably is just as scratchy as mohair is. So I don't know that I really needed to work that hard, but I couldn't find it locally, so I had to order. So I was kind of just going off, whatever seemed okay online, right? As you do. Sometimes. So, this held together, it's a tiny bit see-through. I might need a cami under it. Maybe just for comfort too. I might, put a cami under it, but it's pretty nice. And it's got a nice fuzz. It's not a huge halo though. It's got some fuzz. So I don't think it's as decadent as I would like it to have felt. In a mohair kind of sweater. But the reason I did that is I could have found something in Fyberspates Cumulus, which I really like, but I wanted a black mohair, not a trying to be black, but really honestly kind of gray. So especially because the mohair will really have made it not this look. I wanted it to be a black sweater. So I really had to look for something that looked pretty jet black. And so this is. And so for that, I'm happy, especially because I was just sort of hunting around in the dark online to find something. But I don't think I would use the yarn again. It's not very soft, and it's a little crimpy. And so it kind of you have to be really sort of gentle how you hold it, or else you'll kind of stretch all that, not stretch it out, but the crimp will kind of make your tension seem a little bit weird, and you'll end up with sort of a wad accumulating in your hand if you don't let it flow through more gently. So I had to kind of ease up on that a little bit. So it's fine. It will work out fine. And I think this will be a lovely sweater, but I don't think I'd get that yarn again, is the long story there. So happy to be making something for my Make 9, especially because, you know, I want all those things. The other thing I need to start from my Make 9 is a sweater for my husband, and I just don't know if I'm going to have the wherewithal to do that. I've already got cast-on-itis, and that one is like full cables, like that's a deal, right? And I wanted to do it either for a birthday. He's got a winter birthday, you know, or Christmas. So I would have had to gotta move on like last month. Anyway, so I don't know if I'm going to get to that one this year. I might cast it on. We'll see. I already have the pattern picked out. And as I've shown you before, maybe I've popped my Make 9 up here. Maybe editing Amy has been like, hey, put that up here. But there is a yarn that I feel like I already have the yarn for it because there's a project that I'm actually going to frog and reuse. So I'll just show you really quick. This is the thinking, click, click, click. Did I write it down? Starting to do that thing like singing on the podcast like Andrea does. Do you guys watch Drea Renee Knits, Andrea Mowry doing her podcast? She sings all the time. She's adorable. I'm trying to remember what it's something like the Evermore sweater, but that's not right. I'll put it here on the screen. Anyway, Elwood. Thank you. Thank you, Brain. Elwood sweater. So this is the Elwood sweater, and I did start it. It's like basically for kids, and I'll show you the cute little one I made. I made two actually, but this is the cutest one, this little blue one. And I gifted it to my my half sister for her new baby, and he looks really cute. And he can't quite wear it yet, but it's because it's a little bit big still. But I like the pattern. It's got a big fat shawl collar. It looks like a little old man sweater. I love it, and I'm like, I want one, and I want one very long. And I'll put pockets, and I might put a stripe, and I might do it. And I had all these ideas, and I hadn't really like settled on one. And I'm holding, this was the color I wanted, so I'm actually ending up holding 2 strands of worsted double, which is actually working fine. But it's just like, then there's the yarn is like, then I need so much yarn, and I'm having to like make adjustments to the pattern because I don't quite have the gauge because I'm using fat yarn, and you know, like blah, 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 right? So it's fine, but then I had to like, now I was having to try it on to see, did I get it right? Am I going to need to change something? And I haven't picked it up for a while, and I'm just thinking, I don't think I want this. I love the dark. I love the idea of it, and I might make it again someday. And I love a dark gray sweater, but I just think I'm going to frog this, and I'm going to use it for my husband's cabled sweater. So it's all good. It's all good. So I am going to frog that at some point and use that gorgeous gray yarn. And the pattern, I actually really like the pattern too, but I just don't think I want to make this combo right now. So again, I'm going to use it for that sweater, and I hope I will have enough, especially because I won't have to hold it double. And so I should have enough. So that'll work out. But I don't think I'm casting that on anytime soon. We'll see. Maybe I eat my words. You know how it is. Okay. The last project I have, boy, this one has made me angrier than any other project I've ever made. And so just real talk here. This is I should know it by now because the Cargill sweater. From Rebecca. I'm trying to remember her. I know it. It's going to be on the screen. So this is the Cargill sweater from Rebecca. It's her first pattern, and it's a lovely design. It uses the dip stitch. Y'all know I know all about the dip stitch. If you go back and look at my previous episodes, I've made a ton of stuff using the dip stitch. Including the Into the Woods sweater by Melody Hoffman. That uses the dip stitch. I made a bag from the dip stitch. I made a hat from the dip stitch. I understand the dip stitch. What I don't understand is there is a part in the pattern, and it's very, very early on, where it is not written out clearly. This is my opinion. I have felt totally alone in this, honestly, because everyone's making the sweater and everyone's fine. And the most they say about it is like, oh, it's a little tricky at first. I have ripped this out 5 times and I've not gotten beyond row 10. I've ripped it out 5 times. I have been to my local yarn store to ask them if they can figure out what's going on, and they cannot figure out the pattern. It's not like they look at my work and they don't know what mistake I've made. It's like they cannot figure out the pattern, how to move forward. I asked the designer, who did write me back after a little while, and unfortunately that wasn't very helpful. She kind of just repeated what the pattern said. I've watched the videos that come with the pattern. I have scoured project pages on Ravelry. I've tried to post in Ravelry forums to get help and that hasn't worked. I don't know if I'm doing it in the wrong place or what. So guys, I have been everywhere with this one and it is just so frustrating. I have cried about this one. It has made me so angry. I have yelled at my husband. I've asked my husband for help and then I've yelled at him about it. Not like at him, but just like, you know, when you're so angry that you just yell, right? Not at him, but like about the pattern. And boy, he stood there and took it. What a sweetie. So I don't know what's in store. Never mind that the yarn was very difficult to get. I had another yarn saga. I'm using Cumulus yarn. This is perfect. This is gorgeous. It's Cumulus like I wanted it to be. I want to say this is color Rust. If it's not named that, it should be. Caramel, whatever. Anyway, this is gorgeous. And I'm holding it together with the best color I could find that was the closest match, because I wanted it to be have dimension, but I wanted the colors to match. I've learned that when I mix a wildly different color of mohair with even in the same tonal or the same shade, I don't like it. I want it to be a close match. So, so this is, what yarn is this? This is Knit and Bro Merino Singles in Bradley Copper. It's actually really pretty, but I could only get 4 skeins and I needed 6 and they didn't have any more. And I even wrote to the hand dyer and he dyed up and he's like, well, there'll be a little bit of a variance. I'm like, I know, I'm going to work with that. I'll take it. So he sent me 2 more skeins and they actually look quite different. There's a richness and a tonal shift that's just not in what he sent me the second time. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that. So guys, I don't know if this is going to get made. With all the drama, this is literally all I have. This is row 3, I think, before you start the confusing part. What I finally did, which gives me any hope at all, is I finally tracked down a tester. And the tester mentioned that, yes, this was a big sticking point in the test knits and that they had hoped that it was worked out, but I get that they're like, I guess it's still confusing. And basically what she had to do was fudge it, make it up. And I'm okay with making it up, but basically I can't figure out how to make it up. I can't figure out how it should be. Because you're basically, you have to increase at certain points, but you have a 6-stitch repeat and the increase points don't line up in between those repeats or at a kind of time. Like for example, if you were doing the dip stitch, which happens across, I think again, like 6 rows, depending on what you want to do, right? It happens across 3 rows and 6 stitches. So you have to really be mindful about how you put the increases in because you're going to change that up. And the increases are not like evenly worked out within the 6 or within the rows. And because they're all crammed together, you can't fudge it. Like, you know, when you're doing color work, you can put short rows in the non-color work part. Or if you're doing like Melody Hoffman's Into the Woods sweater, she makes these little trees, but then they're spaced out. So put the increases in the spaces, right? Not in the, but this is solid all over dip stitch. And so the increase rows are not spelled out in the pattern. You're given a couple of hints, but they're not spelled out in the pattern where to put them, how to put them, and how to incorporate them in the dip stitch. And so the math just does not add up. So people have fudged it. And I just can't figure out how to fudge it. But the tips that the test knitter gave me, I think after I put this away for a while and take a deep breath and decide if I even want to go forward with it, I think could finally help me fudge it. But it's going to be a mess. So I love Rebecca. I watch her podcast. I love her design. But I'm disappointed in this pattern, sadly. So if anyone has any tips or help or encouragement, or honestly, if this happened to you too, and you just felt like you couldn't say it, you know, I don't want to insult anybody. It's not garbage. It's a gorgeous, you know, pattern and a gorgeous design. But this has caused me so much frustration again, like more than any other knitting project. And I've been knitting for years and have done the dip stitch for years. It's not the dip stitch problem. It's the increases that are incorporated in not an elegant way and not a clear-cut way with the dip stitch repeat. So I don't know what I'm doing about this, but it's definitely in the doghouse for now. We'll see what happens. So thank you for hanging out with me and for continuing to come back. Episode 18. It's almost been 2 years now, I guess, that I've been doing this. Still having fun. Hopefully you guys are too. So I'll see you later with more knits. Bye.